All right. So, hey, everybody. Welcome to Qumulex Radio. I am Josh. My co-pilot and friend Aaron is on assignment and will not be with us today. But today we do have a very special guest, Chad Paris from Hanwha. Hanwha? Which way do you say it?
I say Hanwha, but you can say
Okay.
Hanwha. That's fine.
I think Hanwha is probably correct.
Yeah.
I I don't know why I can't, pronounce things correctly half the time, but we'll go with Hanwha. That sounds good. So, Chad, you are what's your title exactly? You're in the A&E group, right?
Yeah, Josh, thanks for having me on. Do appreciate it. Yeah, my name is Chad Paris, and I'm the senior A&E manager with Hanwha Vision, based in Columbus, Ohio.
So Chad is one neighborhood over. So this is the closest anyone has called into the Qumulex studios. So
I've walked by the Qumulex studios in the past, and it's very enticing
yes,
to go in and spin some records and things like that.
absolutely. So well, glad to have you on finally. Glad you had some time to do it. And we've talked about a lot of different subjects here, but something that we have not touched on that I think is pretty interesting is how cloud and all these technological advancements are affecting these architects and engineers that you're spending and consultants, that you're spending your time with. So just kind of as we get started here, I mean, how are they handling this transition to cloud that it's occurring in the security industry? Are they readily adopting this? Are they a bit hesitant? Does it change, what level of ownership they have in the customer's projects?
Yeah, I think cloud's it's a term that we hear a lot in the industry. It's a broad term. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, right?
Yeah.
Am I full cloud? Am I a hybrid cloud? And certainly, I'm sure you've had those conversations on your program before. I, Most of the time when I am talking with architects, engineers, consultants, those who are doing design in this space, I'm seeing adoptions a little slow. I think it's a little bit about generally understanding what cloud means to them. Quite frankly, a lot of the architects and engineers and consultants that I work with, they're working on sizable projects, anywhere from 50 to 1,000 cameras, and how cloud scales, total cost of ownership is something that we kind of help them work through and understand, what's it really mean, and that is it worth it for the organization? The cloud, again, the term is very broad, and a lot of times their customers will come to them and say, "Hey, I'm using Microsoft 365. I'm using everything else in the cloud. This program's on the cloud. I want to go cloud. I want to store everything in the cloud." And when they start looking at that total cost of ownership, it's one thing if it's access control, but when you start looking at video, where lots of data, lots of storage required, big pipes coming out of your building
Hmm.
for that bandwidth, sometimes that kind of changes the perspective a little bit, and generally understand that. But certainly cloud is the future, as we start to progress through the technology and how that actually works and functions. Probably seeing more right now, if we're talking cloud, a lot more in the hybrid mode, on-premises
Yeah.
storage, replicating maybe certain cameras or other cameras for extended storage in the cloud. So really, it's our job as the A&E team to help the consultant understand what that really means, and really try to figure out what is that total cost over 4, 5, 6 years, perhaps. And as you start doing the math on that, for these larger projects, a lot of times it's go back to more of an on-prem type solution, but perhaps maybe there's certain cams we could archive through technologies to the cloud that may require longer storage requirements.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think I have mentioned on some other episodes, I still subscribe from my old integrator days. I still have a lot of IT magazines that I still get now digitally. Of course, nobody prints them out, but I feel like over the last few years, I hear a lot in the security industry, obviously, where, everybody's pushing for, cloud. And then, as you said, that's very broad. So what are you? Are you hosted? Are you hybrid? Are you cloud managed? And I've seen a big
Mhm.
push in the IT world to say, okay, maybe not everything has to be in the cloud. So maybe your cloud should include a hybrid approach, with some amount of local storage and some amount of local processing. So I think
Yeah,
it's
and I think
interesting because I feel like they've kind of gone all the way and come back. And as we were catching up as an industry, I feel like many of us, because you have some cloud solutions that you offer as well, in addition to your really great cameras, I feel like we're all starting to offer this approach now. And I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you hit on a term there that I think is pretty key is cloud managed. Um, when I have the ability, whether I'm at my desktop or on my mobile device, to really go through and look at cameras, look at access control, look at what other systems you might have in the cloud, managing that through some sort of cloud connector is, I think, really where a lot of the people want to be. And so back to the term, cloud's a broad term. A lot of times they just want something they can manage. They can pick up their phone and unlock a door, look at a camera, do some other event to action that really helps them manage their system much more efficiently instead of being tied to the desktop. So that's kind of where I think a lot of that is. But certainly as we progress, and I think, within the next couple of years, we're going to see really that cloud becoming, where we're not storing everything, but doing all the compute and everything else out there.
Yeah. And I think another thing that is interesting is if I go back to my integrator days, and really until recently, analytics were always something that were really cool. And, we would get the demos and it would be amazing, but doesn't seem like they got a lot of traction. Camera analytics have really, I think, been a part of this change, but also I think analytics in general as a part of the platform natively seem like they're really taking off. Are you seeing that same kind of adoption with the larger types of customers that are dealing with the AEs, or do you think that's lagging behind a bit?
Yeah, a little of both. I mean, and I think if you start looking at, again, we could say the word AE and it's a broad term as well, right?
True.
Architect, engineer, right? Architect, engineer, consultant. The AE community is broad, so to say. So, and I kind of classify the A and E's into kind of like three buckets. You have your engineering firm. It's usually the E you're working with, the engineering firm who's working on mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all the low voltage systems, telecom data, AV. Oh, and by the way, security they have to work in too. So when you're talking to those groups, you got to get a little bit more rudimentary. You can't get down too much into the weeds. A lot of times these guys are looking for more manufacturer support, peer review on their projects that they're working for, not security first guys most of the time.
Right.
Then you've got your same group engineering firms that have a security specialty practice within that. And that's where you get the guys that are, they might be working on AV, but they might be a specialist in security or other low voltage systems. Those guys tend to really more focus on the physical security industry. And so talking to them is at a different level. And then you got your pure security consultants. These are the guys that are doing risk and vulnerability assessments. They're going out and looking at security programming, looking at the technologies, building roadmaps, looking at long-term solutions for their customers. These are the guys that, live and breathe every day in the security space. So
right.
Going back to your original question, Josh, on the analytics, the first group, sometimes, to them, it's like, hey, I'm just doing dots and spots on a drawing. I just want good video. I want a reliable system. When you get to the mid-tier and the consultants, security consultants, those are the guys that are really getting a little bit more into the weeds and looking at the analytics. And again, analytics, has evolved tremendously. I would say particularly over the last 5 years. I think we started hearing analytics being bantered around 15 or 20 years ago with lots of promises that probably didn't really come to fruition, primarily because the cost was a barrier to entry for them for the most part, right? Because a lot of those analytics, more advanced things were done at the server, lots of compute power, licensing was a big deal, reoccurring licensing, integration with whether it's access control or your video management system. So when you started adding a lot of that up, the cost was pretty significant. So and most of those analytics were more, I'll say, pixel-based analytics, right? I had a change in pixels in the scene. We're seeing now in the secure physical security space more what we would call object classification. Okay, so now we have technologies able to classify humans and vehicles, right? Now this is a game changer. This is really where security people want to be to apply that analytic, whether it's just motion detection, virtual line crossing, loitering, all those things. Let's take that another step further, and we're putting that and pushing all that analytics to the edge. We're taking it out to the camera. Let's let the camera do the heavy lifting. Okay, so our products, some of our competition's products, are doing a lot of that classification at the edge and really creating the metadata that gets shared back with the video management system. So our job is to educate the consultant, who in turn is really probably the ones educating their customer, to go in and say, look, here are things that we can do at a very minimal cost. I mean, Hanwha's cameras are, you buy the right camera, you got the analytics on the edge, you don't pay anything else, when you start talking about it from that perspective, there's a real interest in not being scared. The end user's not as scared anymore. So we'll educate the consultant. We will go in and help the consultant educate the end user to really understand what analytics and advanced analytics are. We classify it as AI, and again, AI is a really broad term too, right? So, but again, it's object classification. We're classifying objects. We can even take that a step further in our cameras with attribute extraction. So gender, shirt color, pants color, glasses, backpack, hat, color of vehicle, type of vehicle. So, we can really get pretty granular in how we, extract information from the scene, share that back with the video management system. And now we're just querying metadata tags in the video management system to go and fetch the video that's appropriate, whether we're doing that forensically or we're setting up real-time alerts. So I think the term analytics is finally, I think, starting to become more of a mainstream term that is affordable by most people, most organizations out there really looking to take their security at another level and not being complex from a security licensing perspective. I mean, it's in the camera. We just have to have the video management system to ingest that metadata.
Absolutely. And I mean, if we go back to that discussion about maybe larger systems, cloud managed, makes a lot of sense. I think we've heard some discussion. I don't know if you saw or heard any of that article from Genetec. The product manager from Genetec had a discussion with IPVM recently and mentioned that when you get into these very large systems with thousands of cameras, maybe cloud processing of analytics doesn't make as much sense, because the amount of pipe that it takes. So we kind of get back to that same idea of, maybe a hybrid makes sense. And from that standpoint of what kind of machines do you need to have in order to process these analytics locally, a distributed approach seems reasonable. It says these cameras get more powerful and more capable, and we can use more of the computer vision, that AI based analytic like we're talking about versus the older school kind of pixel based analytic. These cameras are able to drive them. And I think that's allowing for a lot of innovation and flexibility. And, you're not going to have to stack up a rack of GPUs to process these analytics.
Exactly. And the latency issue, some organizations need real time, right now, event to action type of notifications. What happens in the cloud? You're kind of beholden to your pipe and some of the what's on the other end. So
Yeah.
those things just need to be looked at and taken into consideration.
What I like to see our industry, I think, is really innovating, because when I was at the show walking around making all my videos, I was overhearing a lot of booth talk and demos, and may have participated in some meetings with some hardware folks that we work with. But um, there's also a lot of improvement that's taking place with that GPU processing that you can place at the edge in a server. So I feel like we're evolving to a place where you can get the same kind of quality, and it's getting better with these computer vision based AI analytics. And we're giving them multiple flavors. You may have a large number of sites, but maybe you only have 25, 50 cameras at each site. Maybe the cloud processing really works great for you. Maybe you can do that in the cameras, and you pick a really high quality new camera for your build like Hanwha that can handle that. Maybe you're using older 2 megapixel cameras that don't really have all that capability, but then you've got maybe a more efficient way to do that at the edge with these GPU processor based servers. And it just seems like we're kind of getting it kind of all lined up to where the flexibility is there for the customer to get what they need, and it's just a matter of which way is best.
Yeah, and truly, I mean, it's not a one size fits all, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can scale up, scale down. A lot of the 100% device to cloud solutions, they definitely have a place out there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you've got for organizations who have little to no IT support, and at the end of the day, paying that monthly cost for that is well worth it, because they don't have the support to manage servers and
Right.
network switches and everything that comes with that, right? So I think those players definitely have a place out there. Scaling up, that's where you have to start looking at that total cost of ownership and what's your internal capabilities and
Yeah.
what can you basically support. To your comment on GPU, we're seeing some of that happening in the camera as well.
No
One of
question.
the things that Hanwha just released and showcased at ISC was our NVIDIA
Mm-hmm.
relationship. So we have the NVIDIA Jetson Orin GPU now embedded on one of our camera models. It's going to be coming out later this year. So yeah, now all of a sudden, not only can I take advantage of some of your basic analytics, but now I have a whole suite of other third-party analytics now that I can process right at that camera. And I can do things like record video on that camera. I can put storage on
Mm-hmm.
that camera. I can record other cameras to the storage on that camera. And we're going to continue to see that evolution of, again, edge-based technology really becoming, a mainstay in the industry. And it's not like it's coming, it's here, it's definitely here. And so how do we take that technology? How do we apply it to our needs? How do we manage it? Which is something that doesn't always come into consideration, because our technologies, as much as we'd love to set it and forget it, there's a whole management component that comes to that as well. How do I manage and administer it? Making sure that I tweak it. False alarms have always been the bane of analytics. And people turn that stuff off. So we want to make sure that not only are we have the technology, but we administer and manage it appropriately.
Well, as these models get better, as this AI improves, which is really an advanced form of machine learning and then neural network, and now we're getting into AI where it's clustered and scalable, and that stuff's getting better and better. Feels like by the day. I think you also just released recently where you can create your own analytics from a camera, which is amazing. So now you're not just doing excellent analytics on board and you're continuing to add to that, but now you're adding that additional, create your own approach, which I haven't tried to do on mine. Thank you again for the loaner that I'm using for testing, but I mean, it's just really impressive to see what you're doing.
Yeah, our Flex AI product is brand new. We talked about it at GSX last year. We displayed it again at ISC this year. And it's really, I can train my camera to understand an object. For example, a couple of things that we're doing is in the retail space, we've trained it to understand what a shopping cart looks like. So as you have cameras that are looking at your parking lot and you have a orphaned shopping cart out in the lot, let's alert somebody, let somebody know. We worked with a very large distillery recently to count bourbon barrels.
Mhm.
So we trained it to understand what a bourbon barrel looks like from many different angles. And that training process is 20 minutes to a half hour, and it's fully trained and ready to go. So we're going to see more and more of that type of technology out there now. Again, trying to make it easy for the end user to administer, be smarter, build in not just analytics for security, but business intelligence is a big one. How can my organization, my retail organization, my factory, my municipality be smarter now that we have all these metadata that we're generating out of the camera? Let's take that and let's turn it into something that's meaningful, not necessarily from a security perspective. Yeah, we're going to use it for security, but let's also use that for, understanding, pedestrian flow and traffic flow and counts of things, and, running trends and tracking of things. And there's just all kind of things that are opening up now that we're able to really ingest meaningful data, meaningful analytics.
Feels like you can really enhance the ROI on the security investment if you can say also we can cut down on the number of bottles that get missed or shopping carts that are left, or name your condition. I've even seen some more with the server base that they worked with a steel company that would wrap the steel and it was nice and thin, and if it started to get a wrinkle, that was a $50,000 problem. And they're able to train the analytics to recognize that that's occurring, alert them, and they could stop the line, which is exactly what you're trending towards now with a camera. So, I mean, that's makes it an easy choice, to make that purchase.
Yeah, we're doing things in healthcare that are amazing. So we've got an integration with the Epic electronic medical records product, and now we have cameras that are in patient rooms. It's within the HIPAA bubble because it's a part of the Epic system, so we don't have any privacy issues or concerns, and it turns into more of a telesitting solution, right? Analytics then built into that. So patient sits up, patient swings their legs over the edge of the bed, patient stands up. We can alert on all those things in real time, and send medical personnel to assist. Healthcare is spending literally millions of dollars a year for patient falls, because if that happens on their watch, guess who's paying the bill? It's not coming out of the patient's insurance pocket, right? So if we're able to show a return on investment in that type of technology, it's healthcare they're gobbling it up now. They love the technology, and we, like every other organization, personnel is huge. And so if I need to cut back on my personnel and I can watch 20 patients at the same time with that built-in analytics, that becomes more efficient for the organization and so forth, in a cost savings perspective as well.
No, that's amazing. So we're getting close to the end of our 30 minutes here. I had several things I wanted to run by. I think I'm going to pick a lane here and go with one that I think will have an impact. I mean, you've had a really great career, and those around Columbus especially know you well. I mean, you've come full circle. You were, with an end user. You were president of SRMC, very respected, very well-known consultant in the security industry. Now you're with Hanwha, one of the top manufacturers in the business. So you've really kind of seen all sides of this. We have a lot of folks that watch this and follow this podcast that, some are working on a ladder, they're out in the field, or various stages of their career, just trying to figure out maybe what's next for them, or something that they could shoot for. I think you're a pretty good example of how to, move on up in this industry and do great things. If someone wanted to get involved with, consulting or AE or anything kind of in this realm you've been in, what kind of advice would you give them? And I'm also asking because you've been our local representative for ASIS for many years, and you've given a lot back to the industry. So I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I mean, there's folks out there that, how do I get ahead? How do I do better? If they like your path or what you've been doing, I mean, what would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, and thanks for that. I appreciate the recognition on that. I've really worked pretty hard in my 35 plus years to try to, make the industry better. ASIS has been, I'm a 30-year member of ASIS. I've been chapter chair and I'm currently vice chair. I'm going to be chair again next year. Served in all the positions except treasurer. Don't want to deal with the money. But ASIS is a great organization, locally, regionally, internationally, that allows you to really kind of get plugged in. If you really want to make, the security, your industry, your pathway for your career, lots of opportunities, whether it's technical, whether it's doing risk assessment, whether it's just being noticed out in the industry. The networking opportunities are great. I would highly recommend looking at your local ASIS chapter. I will say some chapters are stronger than others. But connect with ASIS, look at how you can help contribute. That's where you get some recognition if you can contribute on a leadership level or on a advisory board of some sort. Additionally, look at Security Industry Association, the SIA group. They've got some good training opportunities. They've got lots of good information and education. So there's lots of pathways to take. I'd also say when you get involved with ASIS, there's mentorship programs as well. So connect up with a mentor, connect up and help. That person's there to help you. I've mentored many people through ASIS and other pieces of this industry, whether it's just somebody reaching out. So become involved, take an interest, and if you do that, great things will happen to you.
I love it. And I mean, just as you said, there's a lot of great people in this industry, a lot of people that want to help out, putting yourself, amidst those others in these types of events and these organizations like ASIS. I mean, you really start to rub elbows with the people and work with people and get to know them, that are in these roles that you're seeking out. And I think there's always a huge willingness to kind of mentor and help people along and help them get where they want to go.
Yeah,
And
the
if
nice
your
thing is there's
ASIS chapter is not strong, there's a huge opportunity maybe for you to jump in and get involved and really be appreciated for that too, right?
yeah, and there's certifications too that help elevate you,
Yeah.
in the industry as well. I mean, and that's why I think I've had good success at Hanwha. Was I kind of got that background. I got pretty instant credibility when I came over here, because I kind of been there, done that. Like you said, I spent
Yeah.
20 years before I came here in the consulting world. So learned a lot there and learned an awful lot there. This is just the next evolution. It looked like I didn't know what I was going to do when I left consulting. I thought, well, I haven't been a manufacturer. Let's try that out.
Yeah.
I'm having a blast.
Well, here we are together having that same thought.
Yeah, right.
Half a
Exactly.
mile away.
Yeah,
So, well, congrats. I
exactly.
mean, you've had a great career. You're doing great things there at Hanwha, and
Thank you.
really proud to have you on. We won't get into the final topic, which was going to be why does everyone know that Ohio State is the greatest football program ever? But we don't have to get into that. Everybody knows. The science is settled.
Hey, I'm giving a lot of money to Ohio State. I'm got my daughter. She's going into her 8th year pharmacy school there. So yeah,
There you go.
it's a great university.
A true Buckeye. Our oldest just finished his first year at UC. So
Okay, awesome. Congratulations.
I guess those roots ran deep. We lived in Columbus for 20 years, but they're all still running to Cincy. But OSU, great school. Very excited about the upcoming season. Chad, so excited you were able to make time to come on today. And we'll tag you in the description if there's any AECs out there that want to hear more from Chad and get a little more info, or if you have any interest in ASIS, especially around here in Columbus, reach out to Chad. And in the meantime, this has been a great episode. Thanks for coming. Thanks to everybody else for watching. Make sure to catch us at Qumulex.com. and like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. So we'll get you up to date on each new episode. We try to keep them coming. So
Thanks for having me, Josh. Do
all right.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Chad. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.